What's up everybody? This is Chris. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. And in this video, I want to do another English speaking lesson about talking about your studies. So you might be a student, and if somebody asks you, what do? You can answer, I'm a student. But can you talk about being a student in more detail? How can you describe what you study, something about your university, and talk about this in more detail? That's what we're going to learn in this video lesson. So, as well as saying I'm a student, you could also say I'm at school or I'm at university. There are actually a few differences between American English and British English. In American English, a student could be any age. You could be an elementary school student. You could say, I'm an elementary school student. I'm a high school student. Or I'm a college student. So you could be any age. But in the UK, the word student normally refers to people studying at university or college. So in the UK, a student would normally be over 18. If you are under 18 and you are still at school, in the UK, you would probably be called a pupil. So in America, you might say elementary school student, but in the UK, you would say a primary school pupil. Okay? So elementary school changes to primary school. In the US, you might say a high school student. But in the UK, we would say secondary school pupil. Or I'm at secondary school. So we use primary school and secondary school instead. Depending on what country you're from, you might use different phrases. And some English-speaking countries might use different phrases. When you are at university, there are also some differences between American English and British English. For example, in the UK, we would say a first-year student or a fresher. But in the US, this is called a freshman. So if you are in your first year of university, you could say, I'm a freshman in the US, or I'm a fresher in the UK. If you are in your second year in the US, you'd say, I'm a sophomore. In the UK, you could say, I'm a second-year student, or I'm in my second year. If you are in your third year, in the US, you might say, I'm a junior, or I'm in my junior year. If you're in the last year, you might say, I'm in my senior year. But in the UK, you might say, I'm a third-year student. Or if you're in your final year, you might say, I'm a final year student. Okay, so what different types of students are there? So we've got mature students. A mature student is somebody who is older than the typical 18-year-old young student at university. You might have worked for several years and then come back to university to study. In this case, you would be called a mature student. It just means you're a little older. We also have undergraduates. If you are an undergraduate, that means that you are studying for your first degree. If you are a graduate, that means that you have already left university, right? And if you go back to study, you might be a postgraduate student. You can say, I'm a postgraduate. And the next question might be, so what do you study? In the US, you might hear, what's your major? But in the UK, we don't really use the word major. This is a very American phrase. So we would probably say, what do you study? What's your subject? What degree are you studying? Or simply, what are you studying? And there's also a much more old-fashioned term, which is, what are you reading? Reading simply means studying for a degree. It's kind of an old-fashioned phrase in British English. So let's try to make some longer phrases. Now, for example, you could say, I'm a fresher at the University of Warwick. This means you are in your first year. You could say, I'm a first-year student at the University of Warwick. Notice that we say at the university. We don't say in the university. Normally, we would say, I study at a university, or I am a student at a university. So this is something to remember. It's different from some other languages. Or you could say, I'm in my first year at the University of Warwick. Another way to say this would be, I'm studying for a something degree. For example, I'm studying for a BA. BA is a bachelor's degree. I'm studying for a BA in, then the subject. Studying for a BA in economics or economics at the University of Exeter. Okay, so a BA, you might also say a bachelor's degree. If it's a master's degree, if you've already graduated and you're going back to do a master's degree, you might also call this an MA or an MSc. This is just the title of the degree, right? It's the letters in the degree. And this will change also in different countries. You might also be studying for a doctorate degree. This is also known as a PhD, right? So you could say, I'm studying for a PhD in psychology, for example, at the University of whatever. Okay, so we need to get these prepositions right. Studying for a something in the subject at the university. But maybe you're not a student now. Maybe you've already graduated from university, in which case the person might ask you, where did you study? Or where did you go to university? And you can answer like this. You can say, I graduated. Then you have to use from. Graduate, this verb goes with from. I graduated from the University of Cambridge with a BA in law. So graduate from the university with, and then the degree, in the subject. You could also say with a bachelor's degree in law. We could also say I got a, and then the degree. I got an MA from the University of Bath, for example. Or I studied for my something degree. Like I studied for my undergraduate degree at the University of Southampton. So try to remember these sentence structures and adapt them to your specific situation. So within a university, you might have a major or a subject that you've chosen, like law, mathematics, psychology, philosophy, or natural sciences, whatever it is. But within your degree, you would also be taking different courses. So we sometimes call these courses, we sometimes call them modules. A degree might be divided into different modules, which basically means different courses. So if you want to know more about this, you could ask the other person, what courses are you studying? Or what modules are you studying? So to answer this question, you can use the verb study, of course, or you can say take. For example, I'm taking modules in, or I'm taking English law and human rights. Yeah, so the full sentence would be, I'm taking modules in English law and human rights. Lastly, you might want to say something about your university, whether it's a traditional university or a more modern university. Some universities in the UK are more modern and they specialize in more modern subjects. We also have different types of university settings. We have city universities or universities in the center of the city. We also have campus universities. So a campus university means it's not in the city. It may be outside the city, but it has its own campus, which means all of the university buildings and the places where the students live. Talking about the student accommodation, we would call this student accommodation or halls of residence. So in the UK, the place where students live inside the university is called a hall of residence. In the US, this might be called a dormitory. Dormitory. So if you live in the university building in the UK, you might say, I'm staying in the halls of residence. Okay, and lastly, you might want to talk about your course, whether it's a more academic course, which is focused on a very hard subject like maths or science, or it might be a more vocational course, which is focused on a specific job, for example, in computer science or a training course in a specific subject. So I hope this gives you some ideas about how you can talk about your studies in more detail. And I really hope you found all this sentences useful. And now it's your turn. Are you a student or have you graduated from university already? And what did you study? So let me know in the comments. Try to practice something in English. And if you have any other questions about university life in the UK maybe, or about what we've learnt in this video, just let me know. Subscribe to my channel to see all of my updates. And if you want to see all the vocabulary and the sentences from this video, just go on over to my website to read the full text, and you can sign up there to get all of my updates. So that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you again very soon.